All right, we back. You know, taking too long, brother. You know we always watch a full gameplay video before the stream actually starts. Hey. None of that. Duty calls in approximately 50 minutes. Does that mean you have to be there in 50 minutes, or do you have to leave in 50 minutes? We're gonna put on the Onyx soundtrack in the background while we code, because I can. So okay, got it. Learn how to type. Damn. Imagine your T key being broken. Nerd. All right. Yesterday I didn't really do too much coding. I slept in. That's all me. But I did end up getting the GMC modifier stack mostly working. It doesn't technically work. Don't cry, it's okay. But I did get it working. It's not the way I would like it to work, but apparently GMC V3 is coming out like near the end of this year, and it should make things like this easier. So with the way I have it set up right now, it works, and I'm fairly happy with it for what it is. And then I also upgraded to the newest GMC version, which should help fix a few issues. Hopefully some of the crashing that we get, but I highly doubt it. So we shall see. But also I realized when I set that this might take 8 hours, I was not including the art in that. So really this is what we're trying to work towards today before stream ends. We might do a separate art for separate. What do you mean leaked? Who said anything about release in 2 days? What? Anyways, yeah, we're gonna order this by importance. So we're gonna work on jumping off the ziplines first. No! We're gonna work on jumping off the ziplines first, then we'll work on auto launching the player at the end. Then we'll do the player offset. Oh my, you guys are killing me. Then we'll do the banking the player. Soft. And then we'll do interaction stuff. And actually we'll start with this. So this is the order we're gonna go in. What? Brother, you already... No, I'm not saying that. I can't speak. I haven't done an actual devlog in so long. I really should. I'm still supposed to be making the YouTube short and like TikTok and Instagram post about the new HUD. I haven't even technically made the update post in the Discord server. So I'm not any better. I wasn't supposed to be streaming until I made the post about the new HUD, but it is what it is. All right. After doing some testing, I do want to make the interpolation speed based off of your initial distance. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. What was I going to say? Nothing. I was not going to say anything. I have no idea what you're talking. You mean breaking my own rules? I've never broke any rules. I'm breaking my rule of going to bed on time because I'm going potentially going shooting with a buddy later today, so yeah. I was supposed to be getting a better sleep schedule. That ain't happening. Progress waits for no one though, so oh yeah, totally not the time you went to bed. I definitely didn't see you online while I was at work. What? That's crazy. Huh? How the heck? Am I gonna... Oh, that's why. 'Cause I'm an idiot. You guys already knew that though. Bless me, thank you, you're welcome. So that's about 150. Why are you in 200 servers? Buddy, you need help. New stand game? What's that? Is that the, like, sandbox? Oh my. I don't know, guys. I don't think it's worth your time or money. Me personally, I wouldn't invest into that. But you know, to each their own. I just realized I'm adding code that I don't even know technically what it's doing. Right. Okay. No, I remember what I was doing now. Yep. Hmm. I don't know if I'm doing the right math. That happened to me when I had a few indie devs like join the Discord server. I was like, I recognize that name. Why do I recognize that name? And then I go to their channel and I've been subbed to them for like 3 years. There's no way that's a whole meter off. Are you kidding? That is not a... Oh. That's because we need to be doing it from here. That's the unit direction vector and the distance that we need to be using. There we go. Yeah. Hey, OP shotguns are indeed the meta. All right. We're getting this point plus this offset. So I'm thinking, methinks we still need to, yeah, I'm thinking we still need to subtract the offset player height. All right, cool. Now let's get the interpolation back working. Yes, yes, I know. I know I only have 6 minutes on it. I've been meaning to get back in and play it. I got nuked by some of the freaking exploding tomatoes, I think. I think that like I got swarmed by a ton of them and I was like, bruh. And then I closed it and I have yet to reopen it. So that is 100% my bad. So, yeah, my bad. Alright, so that's about 50. I'm thinking about 200 is what it's going to be if I jump and get onto it. Oh, look at that. Exactly 200. Or it's 198, but still close enough. 50, 150, time divided by... Let's see, 100 milliseconds, and let's go to like 500 milliseconds. That's not going to work. We need 0.1. I do indeed also just suck. That is very much it. Okay, that felt pretty good. I should really make this zipline shorter. Alright, maybe 50 milliseconds is a little too slow. Let's go with like 0.3 for a long... Guys, I have something that I need to admit to you guys. This is my favorite song in Volume 1. Anyways. I do not need to be debugging this anymore. No, I think the other issue was, I was trying to learn the map and trying to learn the guns and stuff and trying to figure out, you know, what guns are good. So, there's that. Next devlog, that's a very good question. Realistically, it should be tomorrow. Like, realistically, it should be tomorrow. But, I just don't feel like, personally, I have the time to sit down and edit a video. I can write the script while I'm at work and whatever, and I can record the audio. Oh yeah, that feels good. That feels good, baby. Bruh, we will have left to fry before Onyx. That is for darn sure. Yeah, I know. Realistically, what this video is supposed to be is it's supposed to be a video talking about how, like, the upgrades from Gen 2 to Gen 3. That's the video I need to do, is update the general audience on just kind of the updates that Gen 3 has had, why Gen 3 has taken so long, just kind of give a general update of why there's been a silence, what the Gen 3 build is, why it is a separate build, why it's taking so long, and showcase the differences between it. I mean, I was just watching some Gen 2 gameplay like an hour ago with a buddy, and he was like, dude, the increase in quality between Gen 2 and Gen 3 actually needs to be studied. He was like, it's an insanely, like, huge increase in quality. I was like, oh, thank you, man. But, and it's true, it is an increase. But yeah, I basically need to just, I don't know. Okay, maybe 0.3 is still a little low. Let's try 0.15. Okay, that art was not shitty. I don't know what you're talking about. That art kickstarted quite a bit of on it. Like, we use that. Yeah. I'm thinking 0.25 is gonna feel best. Yeah, that feels pretty good. Yeah. I mean, that art is like genuinely what's kickstarted most of the concepts, the very few concepts we've had. Because like it's one of those things that, yeah, maybe that's a little too fast. Yeah. Wait till y'all see Gen 4. No. The way I'm building Gen 3 is incredibly modular, so anything that needs an upgrade is pretty, I'm not going to say easy to increase the systems, but like as I go further and further through this, it keeps getting easier and easier. Like I did a weapon system update and it only took me about a week. Whereas with Gen 2, updating the weapon system would have taken, I'm not even joking, genuinely like 2 or 3 months, which is why I just scrapped it all and started Gen 3. Yeah, I'm liking those interpolation settings. So yeah, now if the top of our head is really far above it, or like if we're standing really far from it, like that, yeah, we get a much longer interp speed. But if our head's basically like, our head's basically right underneath it, you see it's a shorter interp speed. It's a little, I understand it's a little bit of a difference, but I feel like those changes will make a huge difference when you're actually in game. So I'm freaking tired of this error. I am gonna go into where is my real slop engine, bruh. I am actually, you can confirm it here right now, right here right now. Onyx will not be upgrading to UE6. Not now, not in the future, not ever. I will not upgrade to UE6. Because all of this jazz that I've gotten so good at using, and so, like, I can read this. This is basically like a second language to me now. It's completely being deprecated from UE6. Unreal Engine 6 is removing blueprints, so I will not be upgrading to UE6. And you can hold me to that. So, no UE6 for Onyx. Anyways, interrupt speed based off of initial distance, that is done. Next thing we're going to do is jumping off ziplines. Yeah, that is a reason why a lot of people used it. Now, granted, for the first couple versions of UE6, from what I understand, they are going to allow blueprint support, but they're switching over to Verse, which is the scripting language that they use in UEFN, the Fortnite editor for Unreal. And so they're trying to Fortniteify the engine. So, and yeah, so I don't get me wrong, I could learn Verse, and I'm sure that there's going to be people that are going to make a blueprint like plugin for UE6. Yeah, you're basically saying it as I'm saying it, Finn. Yeah, I'm sure people will create blueprint like plugins that basically convert to Verse or convert to C++ and stuff like that. So, that's funny. Great minds think alike, my guy. So I'm sure, yeah, I'm sure people will come up with stuff like that, but I'm just like, I don't care to do that, because also I don't know how the conversion from blueprints to Verse is gonna be. I don't think I have a stream delay. I think my stream settings are, oh, well, whenever I do the settings, I always set it to low latency, so maybe it's the fact that you're like halfway around the world. You know, that could be it. Because when I open up the stream on my computer or my phone, like for me it's like a 5-second play. So yeah, it could just be that you're halfway around the world from me. So all right, jumping off zip lines. This is where I'm not gonna be very happy about the way I'm setting this up. But again, when GMC V3 launches, I'm gonna have to do a revamp on the player component anyways. I have a whole list of things to do. I was gonna do it soon, but then I realized if the GMC is gonna get an update at the end of the year, I'm just gonna, so. Because stuff like this, where I'm checking is using ability, I should not be doing it. Huh, interesting. I don't know, did you try, could you like try refreshing the page or maybe, or something like that? I don't know. Yeah, the way that I'm coding this, that I definitely did not code this properly. This is the movement is the oldest thing in the game. So with GMC V3, unfortunately, I will have to go and do an entire pass on movement, which is gonna take probably a good month or so. But again, like all the other reworks, 100% is gonna be worth it. Testing. Damn. Okay, so that's working. So if this is empty, we should go ahead and call on my interface. There's external movement. External movement jump. The only input we're gonna do is organic movement component. How are we already back on Vanguard? This playlist is like 40 minutes long, and the stream's only been going for 37 minutes. There's no way we're already back on Vanguard for this song. I don't know. Whatever. It's a goated song. Not widgets. Blueprints world Zipline. We need a external movement jump. Yes. Whenever we press jump, for now, what we can do is did it skip 7 or 8 minutes into stream? I mean, yeah, I jumped to the playlist, but still, that makes it less time then. I mean, this playlist should have only been playing for 30 minutes. So, I don't know. I don't know. We'll take it, though. Ooh, I know. Should remove. I am a time traveler. That is right. No, because if I was a time traveler, I would time travel back in time with a flash drive with completed Onyx on it and just release it. I wish. Definitely, again, not the right way to be coding this, but I already know how I'm gonna do in the proper version. Assuming it works how I think it works. Judging from how the GMC dev has explained few things about it. So, uh, so now if we open this up, for now we can just say yes. So, bruh. Dude, if I was a time traveler, I'd keep going back into time collecting versions of myself from like 10 seconds ago. And then I would just have an army of me's. One guy would do art, one guy would do gameplay, one guy would do vehicles, one guy would do the menus. Onyx would get released in a month. That's not true. It'd probably still take a good 6 months, maybe a year. I swear, Mr. Lum. Okay, now I just can't get on the zipline. Slash loop. I wish. Oh. Well, I can already tell you it's gonna work because I had the code set up. Exactly. I'll just clone the same 10 people. Alright, so now I can press space and it just drops me off the zipline instantly. So for now, we'll quickly do set velocity to just 0. So we should fall off the zipline instead of teleporting to the ground, in theory. Yeah. So now is the question that we got to figure out. If the player jumps off the zipline, should they maintain the velocity? Should they maintain the velocity that they had when they were on the zipline? Or what's up, Ren? What do you mean no? You don't want them to maintain velocity? Why not? Well, the way it worked in Gen 2 is... I actually don't know the way it worked in Gen 2. I know when you got to the top of the zipline and it auto disconnected you, it would disconnect you in the direction that you were holding. So if you weren't holding it functioned like the thruster pack. So if you automatically exited, it would eject you forward. But then if you were holding backwards, you would eject backwards. And that was really great. That led to some good movement and kind of tech. I don't know about jumping off mid zipline though. I could launch Gen 2. Screw it, I'm launching Gen 2. This is gonna take a bit. So I just realized we're listening to Vanguard again. Did I accidentally set it to loop one song? I may have. Okay, I'll save all. There you go. You happy, man? I don't think it'll crash. This stream has never crashed in the history of me streaming. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't want to hear it. We could. We could just set the velocity to 10,000 when you get off the zipline. I don't know about you. That sounds pretty good to me. Let's try it. That's a pretty good zipline eject. This is movement tech right here. That's for you, Van. Let's see where Gen 2's at. 45% UE4. Come on. You can't be taking 20 years to launch. UE5 takes like a minute. Better than Unity. I could not imagine Unity. Oh. You want to see it with the ground pound. Your wish is my command. It doesn't accelerate infinitely. There is a cap on the radius. I do have some caps. Oh shoot, those things have collision. That ain't right. Infinite scaling with high. No. I think the only reason why it has a cap is because I drive everything with curves, and the curves can't the curves don't exponentially ramp up. Whatever the last spline point or whatever on the curve is, that's the value. What's in the name? I don't remember what I said. Oh, that's the object I selected? I have no idea. Oh. Yeah, I'm thinking if you eject off the zipline early. Trying to think. Well, that's UE4 open. All right, let's go look at old Onyx. I don't actually know. I think old Onyx, it just runs the normal eject code. I don't think you maintain velocity. I mean, old Onyx, I still have old Onyx, like the old Onyx files, purely for going back and comparing things. Where's the spawn? Spawn point's over here by the weapon. So let's just grab the zipline. Boop. Drag this boy. And then let's set the zipline speed to like 50. That way it's a super high speed so we can see if it does maintain. And we'll just wait for shaders. All right. I was gonna respond to a text, but I guess. Ew. Let's get the assault rifle. That way we got. I was thinking that. Well, no. If you finish the zipline, it just auto ejects you. It just has a flat like eject speed that it has. So but I was thinking like if you jump off early. And I can't jump high enough. My guy's too short. Can't believe you've done this. Alright, let's try this. Give me an assault rifle. I don't want this. Yeah. Because obviously, on one hand, you don't want players... I guess that's what happens in Apex, technically. When you hop off, you do technically keep your velocity. Because, like, on Pathfinder, like, ziplines and whatnot, you can kind of just, like, hop off and keep hopping on. So, because I think it would be weird if you're fighting someone who's going across a zip line and they hop off. I feel like that'd be very weird. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh my gosh. The old pistol is horrible. Compare that to this. Holy upgrade. Alrighty. Well, drive safe. Yeah, I do think if you're purely for fighting somebody on a zipline, I do think it'd be annoying if they can hop off and like this, if I get on the zipline right now. If I can just hop off and lose all velocity perpendicular to the zipline, I do think that would be annoying to fight against, and it's kind of jarring as the person jumping off, so like... Yeah, maybe you do keep like half the velocity or something. Or like 75%. That way you still maintain some of it, but you also do slow down. And then obviously air friction would slow you down naturally. But maybe I can also combine it with the direction you're looking at. So you do keep all velocity traveling in this direction, but then if I'm looking over here, I'll still get some ejection force into this direction. That way you can still eject off the zipline in the direction you're wanting to. Yeah, I guess that's the best way to code it. Figure out the velocity. We'll give it a percentage. That way we can tweak it as much as we need. Or I can tweak it as much as I need. I say we a lot. Is what it is. And then it just adds on the ejection force. Or wouldn't want to add it, because then you could gain velocity by jumping off this way. Which I guess actually makes sense. Yeah, I could just add the ejection force. So, I guess let's just set up ejection. Goodbye, old Onyx. So... I need to figure out the velocity along this line. Get velocity from time. Long before time began. Let's see, how's this gonna work? I'm gonna need the same code here. Time to max speed. Yep. Because if the time to max is less than or equal to the time to max speed, then it'd just be times acceleration. That makes sense. Bruh, why can't? Sure, that's gonna have to work, I guess. And then if the time is not less than, that means it's greater. Well, then that means we've accelerated at full speed. So then our current velocity just equals zipline speed. So that's equal. Should be right. Methinks. Why am I trying to do a return node later? I can just do the return over here instead of creating this local. Yeah, that could work. So now we have a function, which this function we were going to have to create anyways for the banking the player camera. So it's good that we're creating this right now. It'll be useful in two places. So all we can do is get velocity from time. And then we can plug in this time, and we can print out this velocity just to see. We should see an increase to 1700, and it should cap out at 7. We'll be looking at the top left here. And it indeed does. Perfect. Alrighty. So, now that we've got that function, we confirm it works. We're going to want to send through. And no, we want to send through the external movement data. That way we can calculate the current position, figure out the tangent velocity. Which we can copy this. Oh. Bruh. That's what I'm... We didn't even need this. I lied. So, we can do get actor location, GMC. We just want the current location. We don't have to do all the fancy time math stuff that we're doing to figure out the new. We can just do this. And we'll actually have to convert this into a function too. That way, when we do this step, so yay us. This is gonna be so fun. Okay. So we have the no, we need to get tangent at distance. Plug this into there. And then coordinate space world. This tangent. Let's debug draw this. Debug draw line from this point plus this times, I don't know, let's go 5 meters. And we'll plug that in. Line colors, give this a good old purple. 5 seconds, thickness 2. That should work. In theory, whenever we get off of this, we should see a purple line from the point that we jumped off. And I forgot to first off, I realized we should probably normalize this. And then we need to not go jumping off at 100,000 units, whatever it was. So and indeed, that is the tangent. Cool. So if we get off at this curve, yeah, okay, cool. So now that we know that direction, if we simply multiply the... We don't need this. If we simply plug in our get velocity from time variable, I do need that external movement data. And then we're going to want to grab this, do a find, plug that in there, Bob's your uncle. Zipline, we want to break this, we want to get time, timestamp, move timestamp, that's the one. Move timestamp minus time. Plug this into time. Velocity will get multiplied into this vector. This gets plugged into this. We combine this, and bada bing, bada boom, just like that. Now we exit with the velocity of yeah. So now we can continue that velocity. And we should probably, for safe measures, set movement mode to airborne. I think what's happening is if you get on the zipline while grounded, even though it's pulling you off the ground, I think it's still counting you as grounded. So, actually, we should be doing this every frame. Yeah, there you go. We can close the blueprint debugger now. So yeah, now if we get on it from the ground, we just kind of like fall from it. Now it'll probably be good to both add some upwards velocity. I feel like, I don't know, that kind of just feels right for, like, instead of just completely dropping from the zipline, it probably is going to feel good to, like, we can add, like, try 100 units, just 100 units of upwards velocity. That did absolutely nothing. Let's try 1,000 This should technically be 10 meters of upwards force, which is gonna be too much, but oh yeah. Then let's try like 250. Okay, maybe 400. I swear we'll fix those errors. 325. Split the difference. Obviously, there'll have to be some like first-person feedback. Like maybe I'll play the jump animation. Yeah, I'll probably have to play the jump animation for feedback. I don't think that's something I can. No, I'd have to build that into. Yeah, that feels good. Now, in theory, when we also do the determine position along spline, we can also call the get velocity from time. We can get the time as the input. Yep, okay. And then because we know the location, we can literally probably return this as a vector, but we can clean things up in a later date. I'll just copy this. So all this should still be working. Multiply that by the velocity. Then we can also do this and set velocity. this way, if we... This is very messy. But, again, we'll come through and clean things up, and we'll make things into functions and whatnot. That way it's reused. Well, and we do auto-eject at the end now, which is kind of the unintended feature. Okay, so now let's create a function called eject with velocity. We want the inputs to be the organic movement component. And then we want our other input to be a vector of velocity. So what we want to define here is we want to take in the velocity, add some value based off of the input direction using the processed input vector. Yes. Convert this to a vector 2D since we only want... That's not what I wanted. 2 vector 2D. And I don't already know if this is in world space or not, but we'll figure this out. Then we multiply this by a float, and we'll promote this to a variable called Why am I pressing J first? Goodness. Ejection velocity. And apparently, oh gosh, I need to go to sleep. Jeez. Just for gets and shiggles, we will set this to be 1,000. And we'll just return. We'll just return the eject velocity. Oh, we should also do one more thing. We should be checking if the input length is greater than 0. Which, if it is, then we also should normalize it before we put it into here. That way you always get the same ejection speed, no matter if you're playing on controller or mouse and keyboard. And then that can go into there like normal. But then, if you're not, we will get forward. Nope. Get actor rotation. We'll get forward vector. And then we'll do this exact right here. So if you don't have input, it should always eject you forwards. That's not what I wanted, but whatever. That makes sense to me. Now what we do is When we set this to true, we want to call get eject velocity. Why am I not passing through the movement component on this? This would make my life so much easier. We want organic. And when we get to the end of the zipline, we do want to have 0 velocity. So actually what we're going to do is when we do external jump, instead of adding this value, we're going to put this value into the eject velocity. So 325. That is not what I wanted. Yeah. So now we can do get eject velocity in here. We can get the movement component, plug in the velocity of the zipline for jumping off. And then this should be 0. Eject velocity. We should be. So we can just get movement component directly in here. And then when we eject, we set the velocity directly. And then last but not least, we just need to plug the movement component. Alrighty. Just like that, in theory, we should be able to check off 2 things off of our list. So, wow. Alright, that sends us absolutely flying forward, which is... Oh, that's because I've set the ejection velocity really high. I'm in the wrong blueprint. Get ejection. Here we go. Ejection velocity, we'll probably just set this to like 4. So if I hold backwards, yep, we do get ejected backwards. Just test all the different directions. Left. I did get ejected to left. Let me do it. Okay, it is in world space, so good. We don't even have to worry about that. And if I don't press anything, we get ejected out forward. I think I want a little more upwards on the eject. So let's go with like 375. I'm liking that. Now, I'm not sure if I'm liking that. We could define a max velocity that you can keep when ejecting. Because, yeah, I don't like this where you can eject and go flying incredibly far into the distance. Yeah, sure, that's movement tech. That's cool. It's gonna break game balancing. And unfortunately, much fun as that could be. I don't think it's necessarily balanced. Oh, I don't have... I will have to add collisions onto the grappling, or onto the... Hmm. I need to sit down and think about this gameplay-wise. Thinking about some of the ziplines in the maps and how I want them to play. I'm tempted to go open up Apex and see what they do with their zip rails. Because the zip rails, you get some pretty decent speed. But I also don't think you just absolutely go flying off it, so when you disconnect from it. Let's go see. Well, well, I'm sure I can find a video of it first. Apex Legends zip rail. This guy jumps on and off. I'm pretty. I don't want the voice line. Just give me a zip rail. Alright, never mind, it speeds up that video. Why are none of these videos what I need? I swear, none of these show... Okay, this one shows it jumping off. It does seem like they have a velocity cap when they jump off the zip lines, or the zip rails. Which is probably honestly the best way to do it. I'd probably cap mine at around 10 meters a second. So, honestly, let's try it. See if that feels good. I don't know if it will, but all we need to do is take this and we do clamp vector size to 1,000. Should be 10 meters a second. We'll accelerate. I mean, yeah, that feels pretty good. I think we'll just stick with that. So if we accelerate to max speed, we jump off, we do get some velocity. That's not bad. I mean, especially for a zipline that is as fast as this one is. Most ziplines, I would imagine, aren't this fast, so... Huh. If I can just kind of spam interact with it at the top of the zip line and get some stuff, get some interesting behavior. That's fine. I guess I should write that down. There's technically a few things that we also need to do. Bi-directional. And we also need to add start and end stop. Those will require a little bit of extra code. I'm not going to consider these part of Zipline. The main thing of Zipline is the actual physics, being able to get on and get off and making it feel good. This is kind of a quality of life thing that I want to do for level designers and for Atlas. And the bidirectional is pretty, but I'm gonna consider that finished. Despite the fact that, you know, when we get to the top of this, it kind of just spits us out at the top, but you know, I'll take it. It functioned. Again, this one is a pretty fast zipline. Realistically, I don't think I'll have anything. What is it set to? 27, 2000. Yeah. Alright, what's next on the list? Player offset position based on closest spline point and angle. Right. Because we want to offset the player. So if this is the zip line, if the zip line is vertical, we want to offset. Right now, the player is always directly beneath their attachment point. So if we have this blue spot as the player and we have the black spot as like the attachment point, they're always directly beneath it. Whereas on vertical zip lines, we actually want to, like if this is the attachment point, we actually want the player to kind of sit to the side of it. That way they're offset from the zip line. So, but then if the zipline is completely horizontal, then we do want them to sit beneath it. So we'll just come up with, we can either do it as a unique curve, or we can do it as just a linear thing. But I'm thinking we should do it as a curve, because most zipline angles, like even a 45-degree angle, I still think the player should just hang directly beneath it. They should only start getting offset once the zipline gets to maybe like a 22.5-degree angle. That's probably when the players should start being offset. So we'll create a curve, and then we'll create a function for offsetting the player and getting the player offset. Yeah. So let's do that. And to make this sphere more visible, I'm going to change the line thickness to like 5. So now it's just a blob. And for the color, we're going to make this black. Okay, you know what? Let's make it not black. That's kind of hard to see. We are going to make this light blue, because I can. That is not as light of a blue as I was hoping for. Sure, I'll take it. All right, You know what? And just because I can, I am actually going to drag this over here. I'm gonna kind of make this a little bit more like a loop. That way I can just hop on it and come back around. All right, now let's create this function. Get offset vector based off of ooh, what do I want to base this off of? Because normally I've been basing it off of the player just being directly below or the closest point on the zip line, but the closest point is no longer gonna be valid. Well, I guess that would work. I was trying to figure out a way to drive it from the player's location, but because for other players they wouldn't have the specific time data, but I am going to be replicating that specific time data because that's the only way to ensure accuracy across all clients. So I can drive this from the same data that I'm using to drive literally everything. Means realistically I need to create a function for getting the position of getting this. This is what I need. What do you mean, no way, bro is still alive? We working on this until it's finished. It's not true. We will probably do a third stream, maybe tomorrow morning. We'll see what I have going on, because I'm realizing we've only done 3 of the things on this list, and we're already an hour and 50. Now, I've been doing a lot of thinking for the last like 10-15 minutes, but and I'm trying to clean things up. Damn, you did all that? That's crazy. You're speeding around like the Flash, I guess. No, I'm thinking what we're gonna do today is I really want to figure out basically the full physics of everything. Just get all the position and location and rotation data all working. So I'm thinking I'll finish these 2. Call it a day. Technically, I could add these 2 to the list, but whatever. We'll worry about that later. Or I might do that like tonight. These aren't necessarily something that need to be streamed, but because these are kind of just game feel things that'll just be good for maps and whatnot. Because like the start and end stops, basically what these will be is optional things that, if you know, think about something like this over here, you know, this realistically for a lot of map art, you're gonna want this zipline directly connected to the ground. So and then you're gonna want it to go to like some kind of like ceiling zipline anchor. So like if we I'm not gonna do a full art pass obviously on this, but and I had this in Gen 2, so it makes sense that I'm gonna this back. But like you think about something like this, you know, the zipline goes all the way to the roof. You're not gonna want the player to, if they're going down the zip line, you don't want the player to actually be able to travel all the way down to the bottom of this zip line. So you're going to have like an early out. You're going to have like an early eject at around like this point. That way, if the player's traveling down it, when they get to about this point, it'll just automatically eject them. Otherwise, it'll keep trying to pull them into the ground, and then it'll phase them into the ground. And somebody wants to do that for a custom map? Sure, cool, great, okay, I don't care. But for the dev maps, obviously, they need to be proper. So, and same thing for going up the zipline. You know, the ziplines are going to be anchored to the ceiling. Let's say you have a really high ceiling on the map. You're not going to want the zipline... You're not going to want players to travel all the way to the ceiling. Like, let's say, for example, you do just have a ridiculously high ceiling, but then this is your landing area. Well, you don't want the player to travel all the way up, because then they're just going to be going to the ceiling. So I'll have some meshes, some custom meshes that, like, you see, like, that just feels wrong. You don't want the player to go all the way up, and you don't want them to have to manually eject when they get to the top. So I'll have some functions for some early outs that if they enter that, it'll just immediately eject them off, and you won't be able to enter it when you're above that value. So the zipline will, it'll essentially just be like a visual thing. Like, the zipline just won't be accessible from that point. Maybe if it's a bi-directional zipline, like, maybe from the top of this, I might allow you to zipline down, but I don't really think that's necessary. I think it'd probably just be best to just have the early out, and then you can only get on the zipline from that point. But we'll see what I can come up with for the visual side of things, and what feels best for gameplay. Obviously, that's just a simple toggle to allow it or not allow it. But yeah. But right now I'm trying to figure out the offset vector. So I'm tired of that song. Good song. It's just a little too high pitched to listen to over and over again. Anyways, if we get the location along this spline, then we can get... Actually, I don't think I want this to be a location. I think I want to get distance along the spline. I can do a lot more with just the rod distance. On what? Like the invis, the dead bodies, the turrets. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter. All of them use the dither. Or are you asking how am I going to do the dither effect on the zipline? So thankfully for me, it's pretty easy in Unreal. Now, even without looking at the materials, I can basically tell you how to do it. Most of the time, it's a screen space effect. So if you know how to create a shader that aligns a texture with screen space, then do that. And then you basically multiply the opacity or whatever. There's two ways to do it. You can either multiply the opacity by the dither mask. So essentially, what you'd want to get is like a... You can either get something like this, get like a pixelated noise texture, or you can do it completely like... let me show you. Hero function. Let's just go to... What's something I have the dither on? Weapon materials, equipment. I know, equipment in the weapon materials, that makes sense. So the way the built-in one in Unreal works is... yeah, it uses a texture. So... surprised it doesn't display as bilinear. Yeah, it uses a texture, and then essentially it aligns the pixels to the screen based off of the size, I guess. And then... Where's the input? Oh, alpha. Interesting, they're doing some weird custom math. But the basic idea is you get a pixelated texture like this, kind of a pixelated noise that goes from 0 to 1. Obviously, because all textures spaces are 0 to 1. And then it seems like they add the alpha value, which I don't personally like. What I would do is... Yeah. So, and I'm sure there's a tutorial online on how to create a dither in shader graph in Unity, but the basic idea is, yeah, you get a pixelated, like you can see how this is screen aligned already. You get a pixelated noise map, and then I would just do a comparison, and I would do like, I'd take like the red channel, and I would do, like, this is the cheapest way to do it, and then you'd create a scalar called like alpha. You know, by default, this would be 1. And then if it's less than this, then the value would be, you would return a value of 1. That way, because that's less than the mask, so you want it to be visible. And then also if it's equal to it, you want it to be 1. And then if it's greater than this mask value, then you want it to return 0, and you use this output value as your mask. And because it's screen space, like you can see, if I move this cube, I don't know how well the YouTube compression works, but like if I'm moving this cube around, you can see like the dots stay in the exact same spot on the screen. Because otherwise, if it's not screen space, you get a lot of flickering, and it looks really bad. So it is best to keep it screen space texture. This is the simplest way to do it. If you know for a fact your texture is 0 to 1, I think that's why they're doing all of this kind of... I think they're also, judging from these comments and some of this math, it looks like they're trying to stop the repetitiveness in a way and like kind of make it a little more random. But this is basically all you need, is right here, and the whatever code Unity to make it screen aligned. So that's majority how dither works. It's just a simple screen aligned mask that you're just doing a basic comparison on. So yeah, Thankfully, Unreal just has it built in, so I never really had to figure it out. But if I did, like I just showed you, I would have just done a basic comparison. But I just used the built-in Unreal one. I also prefer to plug in a custom curve, because even if your opacity or if your alpha value is set to 0.5, so half opacity, depending on your texture, half, like 0.5 might not look like 0.5. So what I've done, especially for invis specifically, because invis is one of those things that's very gameplay oriented, if you really want that accuracy, if you're just using it to like fade objects out or do some like LOD transitioning hiding, which is things like Halo Reach does that. Halo Reach has like a custom dither effect. It doesn't just use a screen space effect. It uses like some kind of custom texture. I don't know exactly how they do it. And in theory, you can do a dither with literally any kind of black and white texture. Like, you can take actually, a perfect example is if we look at, we take a look at the campaign evolved gameplay. When he goes invis, this is kind of annoying because I was actually genuinely going to do something similar to this. You can see, I don't know how easy it is to see, but you can see how like there's circles on the gun that come in and out as he shoots. That's technically a dither, because it's just using a repeating mask, and then it's just, you're just doing a basic comparison check. So like, I think Halo Reach has a custom dither mask that's sort of like this circular one, and you can do it with hexagons, you could do it with, you know, whatever you want. It's just that a pixel noise is the cleanest, because you know that every single pixel will have a unique value. So it looks the best if you're doing like a screen space dither. Yeah. Anyways. I don't know if that answers your question. I hope it does. Here, of course. I mean, if you like, if you're trying to get a specific effect, feel free to DM me. And I'm not the greatest shader wizard, but I've been slowly getting better over time, and I can create some fairly decent effects. My limitation is just purely the textures. But I've been finding a lot of free textures lately, and that's why I'm kind of getting ready to get into like the art side of things and do more shaders, because I've been finding some pretty good like free textures and stuff that I can use. But if you're trying to get a certain effect, let me know. I might be able to help out. Unless it was just something you were just like curious about, and you weren't actually dating it for specific. But how are we gonna figure out this angle? Oh, dot product. Oh, yeah, inverted faces, inverted normals, whatever it's called. It's inverted faces technically. Yeah. I mean, you could still technically do it. You can still technically, I would think a dither would look fine. I would just think, well, and that's the thing, if it's a screen space dither, I think it would look fine for you. Because a screen space dither, I assume the reason why it didn't look good for you is because your primary mesh would dither out before the background sometimes, and so you would still see like the inverted like black mesh. I assume that's why it probably didn't work. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm thinking that's why. Yeah, so if you did it screen spaced, that wouldn't be an issue, because every single pixel along every single pixel for any mesh will always share the same value. So if that pixel is masked out for one mesh, it'll be masked out for all of those meshes at that point, assuming they share the same alpha value. So if you did a screen space, that I would think would solve your issue, and I think that would still look good with your well, no, you can still keep your inverted faces. You would just do the dither would be screen space. But you would keep your inverted faces for outlines. I agree, screen space outlines don't exactly look the greatest. I should know. I'm using them to render these, which thankfully I've got a pretty decent outline. I mean, if I start like, yeah, this outline looks, the blue outline looks pretty good for being a screen space outline. But it only works because it's so thin. I think if I go above like 4 or 5 pixels, it looks pretty bad. You know, I would keep your inverted faces for the outlines, and then just do a screen space dither on it. That should look fine. Which again, if you want to try that out and you need any help, feel free to DM me if I'm online, not streaming or playing games. I'm always down to help. So. All right, let's see. We get the tangent, we do the dot product, we absolute value it. That means we should get a 1 value if it's pointing straight up and down, and a 0 value if it's horizontal. So let's go into data. New folder, road. Put this in here. We need to create a new curve underscore zipline. Nope. Zipline offset. So if the value is, if the input value is 0, meaning the zipline's horizontal, we want to keep it. We want to keep the player direct low. But then if the zipline is a value of 1, meaning it's pointing straight up, we want to offset the player completely. And I'm even thinking something like 0.75 still grow. Yeah, that. Oh. Nope. We're gonna call this offset horizontal. And then we're gonna have offset vertical, which will always be 110. But we're just moving these variables around. And horizontally, what looks good as a starting? Let's see. If this is a value of 0, then go to snap size like 5. And offsetting the player about 25 units. Good. Okay. So then offset would be... Oh, we're gonna have to calculate this. The offset Z should always be get location at distance along spline. World, so it'll be the location between... Wait, no, because this is just the offset. Don't worry about that. Want to get a reference to the actor. We want to get the, or actually the movement component. We want to get the actor rotation. We want to get the forward vector of their rotation. Huh. Interesting. I don't know exactly how I'm going to do this to work completely. Because the way I was thinking about this is obviously if the zipline's vertical, yes sir, paint's the best. If the zipline's vertical, you want to offset the player to the side of it. And then obviously if the player starts rotating around, like... There's vibe code. Brother, I don't even have the vibes to code it right now. But no, like, okay, if we imagine this, you know, the player is facing this part of the zip line. So they should be like, oh gosh, you can't even see it. There we go. So like, yeah, if the player is facing this direction, then we kind of want to offset the player opposite of the direction they're facing, if that makes sense. So then if they spin around, well, it should now flip them to the other side, which makes sense. However, what if the zipline is just 5 degrees tilted? Well, that would be weird now for the player, like, you know, if this is at like a 40-degree angle, okay, it makes sense for the player to always hang beneath it. But I guess the question is, at what point does it stop allowing the player to rotate on it? Like, if the player's hanging on this side, okay, yeah, it makes sense to always offset them to that. Well, you see, as the game designer, I can say that we'll never have ziplines like that. Well, first off, we will never have ziplines that are like this. But the big thing to remember is I'm going to have a map editor. And ziplines are something that people can create in the map editor. And they can create, and that's why, you know, I'm making them splines, is because some of our maps are going to have some curved ziplines now. And so because of that, you never know what people are going to create. So I have to make a system that basically bruh. Yes, sir. I have to make a system that's going to work for any and every possibility. Even if I, as the game designer, will never put a zipline like that, I never know what people are going to do in Atlas. In Atlas, people could place some crazy, you know, somebody could do some like weird freaking thing like this, where you get this kind of a thing where, you know, like you're gonna kind of go around this bend, and so it's like, how do you set that up to be? I need some kind of math function that can. Well, you see, this looks all right, but that's also because that's from first person. First person, it doesn't matter. There's going to be a dither on the zipline, so that's not an issue. But if we set like the zipline speed to be like 200 units or you'll see what the issue is. So like, yeah, it looks fine. You know, he's hanging. Obviously, you know, there'll be like a little zipline pulley system that's like he's hanging from a rope. The animation will be a little different than just the in-air animation. But you'll see, as soon as he starts going up this, now he's intersecting with it. And so that's where, okay, well, if he's intersecting with it, just offset him. So, but then if you offset him, so the issue is I can always offset him. No, I'm just one of those people that likes to be very specific. Well, I think, okay, I'll say this. The code is easy in a either or situation. In in a perfectly vertical zipline, I know exactly how to offset the player. No problem. Doesn't look bad. However, in a slanted zipline, I also know how to perfectly offset the player because it just offsets on the underside of the zipline. So the player would always be hanging below that point on the zipline. But if the player is able to rotate around a perfectly vertical zipline and move, sides of it, then how do you transition from that to now directly beneath it? Because I will say on majority of our maps, maybe this is just because of the system that Coma had to work with in Gen 2, but majority of our maps have purely vertical ziplines. And a few of them do have some slanted, some angled ones. So that's why I'm saying, like, I need to come up with a system that works for both. Because if I were to set this zipline to be at same super slow speed, like, obviously with this animation, the player's in the middle of the zipline, which I don't want. I want the player to kind of be hovering off to the side of it. Now, in theory, I can fix that with just an animation. I don't actually have to offset the player at all. But even then, because I'm also trying to figure out the fact that the zipline pulley or whatever is also going to have to use this code. Because think about the zipline pulley, where it's probably going to be some kind of, like, at least what I'm thinking of for it right now, it's going to be some kind of slightly, like, rectangular thing with wheels and whatever. Oh my gosh, why can I not select? Yeah, it's going to be kind of like a box on wheels. So it's going to have to rotate. This is obviously just a visual thing, but I want this to look good. So, like, this box is going to have to rotate towards the player. And again, if it's a vertical zipline, it just rotates towards, like, opposite of the player's rotation. That's fine. But then if the player's hanging, it'll always be pointing basically straight down. So I'm not going to say no, but I'm also not going to say yes. I don't know what big team battle is going to be yet. I don't know if I'm gonna go 8v8 or 12v12. If the game's optimized enough to run 20v20, heck, I would do it. That'd be like massive team battle. Honestly, I'd like to do something like Warzone in Halo 5, but we gotta get base arena gameplay done first before I can even start thinking about big team. Give me a sec to visualize this in my head. I know I'm definitely overcomplicating this, but I want to get this figured out. Oh no, big team's not a no. I 100% want big team. I mean, the issue with big team is, as you saw by this latest, honestly, by all the test sessions that we've ever had in Onyx, no matter how many people sign up to come test, you will still never get enough. Like, we had a test session where, I kid you not, we had like 28 people or something like that say that they were going to be able to show up, and we got 11. And I was like, oh shoot, 28 people, dude, we could do a 14v14 if 28 people I'm sure it wouldn't have been optimized, especially because Gen 2 is just horribly optimized. But like, yeah, it's one of those things that it was just pretty bad. I mean, yeah, I don't know. It was not good. Oh yeah. That's just the reality of testing. Like, I mean, I've been on the other end of it where I'll sign up to go test a game, and then, you know, obviously life happens, things happen, you know. It's just like whenever you tell your friends, hey, yeah, I'm willing to go out tonight, and then tonight comes around and you're like, you know, I don't know if I want to go out anymore. So I understand those kind of things, but still, it's like, it is what it is. You win some, you lose some. Because, like, we would have some pretty insane Gen 2 clips. I think the most we ever got in one lobby in Gen 2 was 13 people. So we were barely able to do a full game of Infection. And that's why, you know, we're slowly building up our internal testing team. That way, hopefully, we can do 4v4s or theoretically 5v5s. Because we actually don't know what base gameplay for Onyx is going to be. Yeah. Well, and that's why I was telling you, like, I'm sorry that you gave me access and I haven't been able to actually get around to just genuinely sitting down and playing it. Like, I've had the time, but it's never on my mind when I've had the time. So I need to, like, sometime this week just schedule basically a play test for your game. Like, I just need to sit down and actually straight up just set aside like an hour or two to just play your game. No, it's not all right. I want to give you feedback on it. I feel like that's one of my strong suits is being able to give mostly decently insightful criticism. I've playtested so many other like indie games and whatnot. I always give them just a big list of just, hey, here are my feedback and critiques and whatnot. So I try, you know, because I want you guys to succeed. Just like I give you guys the same thing. I try to give you guys the same thing I would hope you guys give me. So, yeah, okay. Well, whenever you let me know that the game is finished being changed, I will schedule a time and I will hop in and play it for, you know, a couple hours. So, see, there's the part of me that's like, I don't really want to offset the player itself, but if I don't offset the player, then the camera gets detached from the third person mesh. Bruh. Hey, give Van access. Van do be the GOAT. Yeah, I don't necessarily want to offset the player model or like the player location itself. But I think if I don't offset it, yeah, the camera will be detached from the third person mesh. And I think that would look weird. That's kind of one of the things I'm very proud of right now, is that when you look at your third person animations in first person, like it almost perfectly matches it. It's not 1-to-1, but like I feel like this pretty okay, well, when animation timing, like the switching weapons don't line up, it kind of breaks the illusion. But like, you know, the fact that it is perfectly mirrored, to my motion, like it's pretty convincing that my first person animation is the exact thing as the third person, even though they're two completely different animations. So that's one of the things I am a perfectionist. I pride myself on those little details. Yeah, I don't know, I pride myself on this. I've played so many games where like I'm in first person, I'm looking at my third person shadow, and it doesn't match up at all. And it does bother me, like specifically with AAA games, it bothers me. Now obviously I don't have all the animations, so that's why not everything matches. But I don't know, I feel like if I get into a zipline and my third person mesh is like offset. Also, the reason why I want it to be so accurate is somebody's shooting at you, the tracers are going to the third person mesh. So if I'm going up a zipline and I see a tracer come flying at me, and the tracer is going to like right here where my camera is, or I should say like this. Imagine this is where my camera is, and the tracer's going to this mesh's head. It's not going to look like it's hitting me. And that's going to feel weird, because then you're going to think to yourself, bro, those shots aren't even getting near me. How am I taking damage? And that's one of those things that I guarantee you people will complain about. So for that reason alone, I want to make sure that the camera is still fairly aligned with third person mesh. So I am going to have to offset it. Oh. Well, let's do it. I think it'll just require some tweaking of the curve of this curve value. This value, I think I'll just have to get the values right on this and it'll feel good. And we'll tweak that when I get the actual zipline pulley in, because that'll really be a good visual indicator of it. So so yeah, we get the rotation, we get the forward vector, we negate it, that way it's pointing the opposite direction, and then we offset the horizontal position. And actually, we really only want the yaw. We don't want any other rotation. So yeah, this will be this value, and then we can multiply this. People texting code. We multiply this by that, and then we add the offset vertical value, or no, we subtract. And if I'm not mistaken, when we set the actor location, instead of doing this, we can just do get offset vector. Oof. The polish phase of this is going to be so nice. It'll clean this up a ton. Then we add the offset, and we can just plug this straight in. I think that works. I don't know though. In theory, we should still be hanging from it. Oh. If we do show collision, and then we exit him. I can't tell if that worked. I don't even know what I'm like trying to look at. Do it. Oh boy. Oh boy. Why is there a cube here? Who decided it was a good idea to put a cube? Genuine. Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah, we're offsetting. Look at that. Now we're rotating around it. You can tell because of the way it is. So now if I exit this, yeah, you can see he's offset slightly. And obviously when I have an animation of him like kind of leaning backwards, it'll be a little better. And when I have the dither on the camera, this will visually look better. Oh shoot, I just realized. I'm gonna have a dither on both the pulley and the pulley rope and the... Ooh, that's gonna kind of be weird. Hey, who designed the zipline? This thing's slow. So, now if we look at this from this point of view. I mean, not the smoothest transition, but that's just because this right here I don't think is the smooth. Not I think, I know. If we set this to auto, and we do something more like that, then that should work. I'm not riding the entire zipline. So now if we do that, let's see what happens when he goes around it. I mean, it's a little jank. I don't think it'll really matter. Like if I get this and we set this back to the 2000, I think that it was at. No, not 2000, 1500. And then we get in it. Yeah. I mean, realistically, yes, who was going to have a zipline shaped like that? But I don't care. It works, and that's all that matters. I'll set this one back to 15. Thank you, Algici. I know I always say this, but like I always feel like I'm saying your name wrong. I know I'm not. Shut up. So yeah, okay, that works. So okay, we have the player offsetting now. So yep, we finished that. This is no longer a potential, but we need to bank the player roll. But the issue is we need to actually bank the player's roll and their offset position. We need to rotate that offset position. But we need to figure out... This is something we might do, because that's more of a quality of life feature. The ziplines do work. Okay, the bi-directional, pretty easy. Yeah, no one. I mean, if you want a zipline like that in your map, I go for it. I'm not gonna stop you. That's the whole point of custom maps. You can do what you want. Now, the real test would be what happens if we copy this. Oh, the location isn't the location. It's fine. I see. Oh, this is the location. All right. Yeah, and then what if we just increase the Z? Yeah. Makes sense. What's the point of... Oh. Yeah, that works. So let's just see what this looks like if we do a... Because this will be something that we will be doing on the grav lifts in one of our maps. Yeah, see, this is the exact issue, Mr. Lonely. If I set the zipline to be like 1 meter a second, this is where the issue arises. Is this one very specific case scenario. So, if I get on it, you can see, okay, the player's hanging beneath it. Yep, looks all great, looks all fine, looks all dandy. And as soon as he transitions to going up perfectly vertical, he goes through the zip line right there, which, yes, is not that big of a deal. The chance of you facing that direction and having that happen are so... I don't think there is a way to fix it. That's the issue. That's what I was like... That's what I was wrapping my head around, is trying to figure out if there is a way. Exactly. Like, something like that is gonna be such a small chance. Oh, I forgot I didn't slow down time. I just slowed down the zipline itself. Exactly. Me being the perfectionist that I am, I want to fix it, but I don't see a way to fix it without doing like true physics calculations, which is the issue that is yeah, that would be the only way to do it, is to slowly interpolate the direction that they're rotating, but that requires that to happen in real time, whereas the way that I'm doing the zipline is it's all state based. So essentially I can give it the position you started on the zipline, the amount of time you've been on the zipline, and it'll spit out the exact position and everything that you should be at on that. That's the best way to do it for the GMC, because that's very easy for rollback. So I have to have this be very deterministic. So if I am simulating physics on it, it's not necessarily deterministic. So... And I could do probably some fancy math. I don't think I'm that smart to do any kind of like fancy tangent math. Like I could query the spline points and the spline tangents to figure out where that's too much. It's fine. This is a 1% of things that on the dev map specifically, we're not going to have this at all with any ziplines probably, unless Koma decides he wants to have a zipline like this, but if he does, we'll just figure out some better way to do it. And then but for the grav lifts, because actually the way we're doing the grav lifts in Onyx is they're not going to be like Halo grav lifts. They're going to be also a spline, so you can do like spline grav lifts, so you could kind of technically do the you could do the Fortnite thing and have like a wind lift that like players can take to different parts of the map. But like on one of the maps, on the map that's going to be getting the art first, which should hopefully be next month or the month after that, whenever I get some motivation. I'm trying to get all these I'm trying to get the things like zip lines and grav lifts and stuff. No, you and your battle pass. My God. I'm trying to get these things done. That way my level designer Koma can get back to fully level designing again. That way he can have all of the tools that we had in Gen 2 at his disposal. We've already got launch pads. And obviously basically as of now, we have zip lines. There's a few more steps we're doing. And then we got to do the art pass. gosh, I freaking hate how slow the zip line. Let's go with like 14, sure. Yeah, so that's why I'm not working on the map art right now, is I'm trying to make sure that Koma can have all of his level design tools. And then once he's got his... no, not right now. That is one of the things on our checklist. That is the next thing on the checklist, is to make it bi-directional. So by default, most ziplines will be... most ziplines will be... whatchamacallit? Bi-directional. So if we... where we come... texture world zipline texture. My idea for zipline, I don't know if this will necessarily be readable. I've got 2 layers that oh, I've shown this to this is kind of the zipline texture. The idea, I'm just going to do this very simply just so you can kind of understand. The idea is that, like, if the zipline is bi-directional, then you'll have some of these woven things be kind of like a diamond shape, and, you know, that'll, like, repeat upwards along the zipline. Not gonna make it clean, but whatever. And then those will be glowing, because that's Onyx's art style. Everything glows. Gotta stay consistent, you know? And then if the zipline is a single direction, I need a way to visualize that to people. So some of these weaves will then be turned into an arrow. That way you can visually see, oh my gosh, you guys are killing me. So yeah, the zipline texture will actually have like an arrow on it to signify the direction it's going. Now, obviously, the big issue with this is not gonna do anything with color. Just simply because the color is gonna be used to signify like the bases. Like ziplines will be colored the same color as bases. So like if you're at red base, it'll be a red zipline, just because, again, that also follows Onyx's kind of design style. So it helps to let you know what side of the base you're on. Now, the big issue is, obviously, as you can see from looking at the zipline in the world, where's Unreal? Like, let's say this zipline, for example. If I show the mesh, you're looking at this zipline, and if Unreal wasn't rendering at terrible 73% screen, if you're looking at the zipline, there's absolutely zero way you are seeing those arrows on that mesh. Now, granted, the redesign of this, I am going to make the mesh like maybe 2 to 3 times bigger. It's going to be a pretty thick metal cable. Even then, it's not going to be that readable. So I'm going to do a second layer. Not only will the texture be an arrow pointing in the direction, but I'm also going to have like a pulse going down it. So you'll have like an animated pulse. So you'll be able to see like a glowing line traveling down the zip line. And that should also be pretty readable. Now, obviously, at the end of the day, it also comes down to map knowledge. Like, you will just have to learn the maps and learn which zip lines have which direction. But I want it to be somewhat intuitive. But it's always hard to make things read at a distance. So That'll be a fun challenge to kind of make it easier to read. But by having the pulses animate in a certain direction, you should be able to see it without shape language. But then as you get close to it, you'll be able to see the arrows and understand that, oh, this is a one-directional zipline. But that's where the art pass, we'll do a separate stream where we're kind of, we'll get the bidirectional, we'll get the start and end stops, and we'll do the banking of the camera, which I need to think more about this, which is why we're not doing this stream. I have not actually given this any thought. I don't know the math behind it, so I'll need to give this some thought, because again, it needs to be stateful, like it needs to be deterministic. So and then all of this is also technically somewhat art stuff, but yeah. So, I mean, if we add together, we've been streaming for 3 hours today. Streamed for what, 2.5 on, what was that, Wednesday? So that's 5.5. So technically we have, if I said that this is supposed to take 8 hours, we basically have 2.5 hours to do this stuff. And then technically also the zipline art, but I don't think the zipline art will take necessarily too long. So yeah, so we will have bi-directional zipline. Right now it just goes from start to end, but I do have the I do have this boolean in here that'll be able to set based off of your camera direction. So based off your camera direction relative to the zipline, that'll determine. So whichever direction you're looking is the direction you will travel. So that'll be good. Ooh, I might need to limit vertical velocity separately, because the way that we set this up, for those that maybe weren't here or maybe didn't see it, I set it to where if you jump on the zipline, it obviously detaches you, and you maintain your velocity, as well as some like ejection is what I'm calling it, the ejection velocity. Basically, if you're holding a direction, like I'm holding right, so I get ejected to the right. And same thing for if you automatically get ejected off the zipline, it'll auto eject you to the direction you're pressing, so you can kind of jump on and off of it. Not as easy as Gen 2, but Gen 2 is kind of sweaty because of that. But I had to do it to where because you maintain some velocity, you would keep some of it, but vertical velocity is a lot more overpowered than horizontal velocity. So I need to go clamp those separately. So let me do that. That should be an external jump. Instead of clamping it like this, we break. Do a take. Make vector, or no, do vector from a vector. Vector. Here we go. Lamp. We want to pick the lowest of... I just realized. I didn't realize what the original clamp value was. 1,000. Okay. So we want to convert this to vector 2D. Then we want to do clamp axes. We want this to be 1,000. And then for the Z, we want to get the minimum of, try 500. And let's plug that in. So jumping off horizontally like this should feel identical. I don't know why it's not. All right, let's see if this works. There we go. Okay, yeah, that function doesn't good. Now if we build up some speed and we go upwards, we jump. Yeah, okay, we don't keep quite as much vertical. I think that feels good. Maybe 500 is a little too low. Maybe I should clamp this at like 650. Yeah, I think that feels good. Maybe making it down to 600 would be good, but I feel like we need to get this on a map and see how it actually plays on a map. But we'll finish Ziplines before we even do a test session with them. So maybe possible stream tomorrow. Depends on if I decide to sleep in or not. And depends on what kind of the rest of my day today looks like. And we'll hopefully be able to finish all this tomorrow in hopefully under 2.5 hours. This should honestly be pretty easy. I say that it might not be, but this should be fairly easy. And we'll do both of these at the same time. Possibly, Van. We shall see. Let me look at my list of things to stream, because the Ziplines were on the list, and that kind of sucks, because, like, this morning, as soon as I got home from work, I wanted to start working on the Ziplines immediately, but I kept telling myself, I was like, no. I told myself I would stream the Ziplines 100% on stream. Because I want to start doing that. If I say I'm going to stream something, I want to do it from start to finish, just completely on stream. So, in theory, we should finish Ziplines tomorrow. Hopefully, fingers crossed. We'll make a very basic zipline ascender pulley model. I'm not going to go crazy with it. I need to actually like sketch something legitimate out, but we're just going to make a very simple low poly model for now. Something that it'll take us, 5 minutes to model. And then yeah, we'll make the new model. I'll try and see if I can find the texture that I was talking about the other day. I'm hoping I can find it, because there was a really nice like metallic woven rope texture that I found like a couple weeks ago, maybe a month or two. I don't know, but it wasn't that long ago, and I can't find it now. So I'll have to see if I can find that. Maybe it was a Megascans asset. We'll see though. Anyways, so we'll finish Ziplines tomorrow. Next week's, I want to start doing dev streams more consistently again, now that Gen 3's picking up. Next week I think we'll do grav lifts, because it's going to be very similar but a lot simpler than Ziplines. Like, it'll share the same whatchamacallit, it'll share the same spline method, and it'll share the same thing that we did here with like the thing following along your camera, and then really the big thing with grav lifts is it's just adding force. Like, it's a little more complicated code, because it'll add force to like try to pull you to the center, and I've come up with some interesting art things for grav lifts in the last couple of days, which I think will be kind of cool. Not anything particularly unique, but I think it'll still look pretty cool. And then the particle effects for the grav lifts are going to be the big thing. Making a particle system follow a spline. I've looked it up. I have a video saved on how to do it, because I honestly thought it would be impossible, and then I looked it up and it's like, oh, UE5, how to make a particle sample a spline point, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So making, yeah, the grav lifts follow a spline will be the cool thing. And then with that, oh shoot, we should probably finish teleporters. Well, let me throw teleporters onto the list. Because these are like 90% finished. Like, you just can't go back through the orange one because I never set up that code properly. So you just kind of get stuck in the wall. This is crazy. I now basically have a full movement playground where I can move around the entire test level without ever touching the ground now. And we still need to finish the grapple. So ideally that's something I want for the end of. But again, I'm trying to primarily focus on map stuff for the level designer. That way we can get some more blockouts into Onyx. Or I should say we can get all of the blockouts from Gen 2 back into Onyx, and then hopefully get some of the new ones in, and we can start tweaking maps, balancing maps, even weeding out maps if we just feel that they're not quite living up to the villain we wanted them to. Unfortunately, that's the reality of game dev. You'll have some maps that like you like one section of, but you don't like the entirety of it, and you kind of have to scrap it and come back to it maybe later as like a DLC map or something. Anyways, yeah, I've got grav lifts, ziplines, teleporters, conveyor belts, barriers, which that's not going to be a big thing. The big one of the big ones is the metal system for, you know, multi-kill medals, style medals. I've been doing a lot of thinking about that lately at work, and I think I have a pretty solid system in mind for that. So, we'll see. We'll see. I've got a lot of things to stream, so expect more streams. That's all I can say. But just to recap stream, right before we head off, what we got today was the interpolation speed of us interpolating to the zipline is now based off of the distance that you work. So if you're standing right beneath it, you get a very short interpolation, but then if you're standing like very far, it's a little longer, and it's nothing crazy, but it just kind of leads to a more smooth feeling experience. Now, we might need to do an update on this to make it a little more smooth, to also save the velocity you have going into the zipline, because I feel like that could feel really smooth. To like, if you're already going the direction of the zipline, instead of losing all your velocity and then accelerating up to it, you just go into the zipline already with some velocity. So that's one of those things that I just realized would feel pretty good. But again, that's something that I'm now gonna have to think about the math of, and if I can figure out how to do that deterministically. Theoretically, I should be able to, but that's definitely gonna adjust the velocity like the code that it uses to what velocity you're getting. So that's an idea though, and that would definitely make it a lot smoother. Like me falling into this and then just losing all velocity, that doesn't feel all that good. But we shall see. We did that. We got the ability to jump off of ziplines, so now you can, if I don't thrust past it, I can get on the zipline and I can jump off. You can kind of see my gun playing the jump animation, showing that I'm like disconnecting from it. And you get a little bit of upwards velocity, and you maintain some velocity when you get off of it. That feels pretty good. We got it to auto launch the player at the end. So based off of your input, either when you press jump or when you get to the end of a zipline, it'll disconnect you in that direction. So if I'm, holding forward, or like if I'm holding right, it'll eject me out to the right. So you can kind of use that to kind of, I don't know, break people's ankles or something. Most of the time, you'll probably just auto-eject to the front. And then the last thing, we added a slight little offset. That way, when you're going up like vertical zip lines like this, you're not inside of the zip line. You are, unless you look down. But if you're going straight up, you will now kind of be offset horizontally, so that you're not perfectly inside of it. And it smoothly transitions between vertical and horizontal. So only 4 things, but I mean, still pretty good. That's the majority of the code done. This is the last bit of true gameplay code, and then the rest of this is quality of life and art. So we'll finish the last bit of gameplay code tomorrow, if I stream tomorrow. Again, we'll see how I feel. And then we'll do the art. But I will not do this until I stream. So you have my word. If I don't stream tomorrow, I'll just do this other thing. If I don't already finish them at some. So. On that note, I'm gonna end stream here. Pretty. Like Van said, decently productive stream. As far as Onyx streams go, very few tangents and distractions. So, pretty successful and productive stream. But, yeah, it was fun. We'll be back at some point, finishing the zipline. And yeah, on that note, I will talk to y'all later. So, thanks for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one.